ever felt that life's deeper truths lie beyond the physical world? That the soul yearns for something greater, something infinite? This longing for divine connection has inspired seekers for centuries, leading them toward mystical traditions. All world religions have their mystical dimensions. In Islam, the mystical dimension is known as Sufism. It is not just a set of beliefs, but an experiential path, a way to dissolve the ego, transcend worldly illusions, and embrace divine love. Through poetry, music, meditation, and devotion, Sufis seek to awaken the heart and illuminate the soul. But what are the guiding concepts of this spiritual journey? In this video, we explore some foundational terms of Sufism that many Sufis have used in their teachings and writings. Sufism, known as Tasawwuf in Arabic, is the mystical branch of Islam that focuses on inner purification, spiritual enlightenment, and direct connection with the divine. While Islam emphasizes obedience to God through law and ritual, the Sufi dimension delves into the experiential aspect, seeking God not just through knowledge, but through love, devotion, and deep contemplation. Rooted in the teachings of the Quran and the life of Prophet Muhammad, Sufism emerged as a response to worldly distractions. Early Sufis withdrew from material life, adopting simplicity, solitude, and devotion as their way to purify the heart from selfish desires and attain closeness to God. They drew inspiration from the Prophet's practice of meditating in a cave. At its core, Sufism believes that God is not distant or that heaven is something to be achieved after death. Rather, the divine presence exists within everything at all times, and true enlightenment can be achieved in this very life. The challenge is to strip away the illusions of ego and worldly attachments so that the soul can reunite with its divine source. Sufism has a rich vocabulary full of profound concepts that shape the mystical path. Understanding these terms provides insight into the spiritual philosophy of Sufism. The concept of fana refers to the dissolution of the ego, the surrender of one's personal identity into divine presence. It is the state where the seeker no longer perceives themselves as separate from God, but rather becomes absorbed in divine love. Fana is not about distraction, but transcendence. It is the purification of the self, eliminating worldly distractions until only God remains in the consciousness. The deeper one enters into Fana, the more they embody divine attributes such as compassion, wisdom, and humility. No Sufi writer has better expressed the concept of Fana than Fariduddin Abu Hamid Muhammad Attar in his Persian poem Mantaqa, the Conference of the Birds. Now I'm going to read you a short passage from Attar's work translated into English by Dick Davis that beautifully elucidates the concept of fana in allegorical terms. Moths gathered in a fluttering throng one night to learn the truth about the candle's light, and they decided one of them should go to gather news of the elusive glow. One flew till in the distance he discerned a palace window where a candle burned, and went no nearer, back again he flew, to tell the others what he thought he knew. The mentor of the moths dismissed his claim, remarking he knows nothing of the flame. A moth more eager than the one before set out and passed beyond the palace door. He hovered in the aura of the fire, a trembling blur of timorous desire, then headed back to say how far he'd been, and how much he had undergone and seen. The mentor said, "You do not bear the signs of one who's fathomed how the candle shines." Another moth flew out his dizzy flight, turned to an ardent wooing of the light. He dipped and soared, and in his frenzied trance, both self and fire were mingled by his dance. The flame engulfed his wingtips, body, head. His being glowed a fierce, translucent red. And when the mentor saw that sudden blaze, the moth's form lost within the glowing rays, he said, he knows the truth we seek, that hidden truth of which we cannot speak. To go beyond all knowledge is to find that comprehension which eludes the mind. And you can never gain the longed-for goal until you first outsoar both flesh and soul. But should one part remain, a single hair will drag you back and plunge you in despair. No creature's self can be admitted here, where all identity must disappear. Over time, Sufi masters formed spiritual orders called tariqas to guide disciples through the journey of self-transcendence. A tariqa is a Sufi order or brotherhood led by a spiritual guide sheikh who instructs disciples on the mystical journey. Tariqas function like spiritual schools, each following distinct practices to help seekers attain enlightenment. Some well-known Sufi orders include the Mevlevi order, also called the whirling dervishes, known for their ecstatic dance symbolizing spiritual ascent. The Qadiri order, which emphasizes devotion, prayer, and charity. And the Chishti order, which focused on love, poetry, and music to bring seekers closer to God. In Sufism, love, ishq, is not just an emotion, it is the very essence of existence. The universe itself is a reflection of God's love, and everything we experience carries divine beauty. Sufis believe that human love, whether for nature, music, poetry, or another person, is ultimately a bridge to divine love. By recognizing the divine presence in all things, one moves beyond earthly attachments into unconditional love for God. Ibn Sina's Arabic work, Risala fil Ishq, Treatise on Love, is an important Sufi work that examines the concept of love as a universal and transformative force. He describes love as an innate drive that moves all beings toward perfection, harmony, and a connection with a higher existence. According to him, love is not just an emotional state, but a cosmic principle guiding everything toward fulfillment. Sama means listening, but in Sufism it refers specifically to spiritual listening, often through music, poetry, or dance. The whirling dervishes, followers of Rumi's tradition, use Sama as a form of meditation, where spinning represents the soul's journey toward divine unity. Music and poetry are used to stir deep emotional longing for God, helping seekers experience ecstatic states where they feel intimately connected to divine. Ma'rifa refers to inner knowledge or spiritual enlightenment, a type of wisdom that cannot be gained from books or formal study, but only through direct experience of the divine. Unlike ordinary knowledge, ilm, which can be studied and debated, Ma'rifa is a profound realization of truth, attained through purification, meditation, and personal revelation. It is the soul's recognition of divine reality, far beyond intellectual understanding. Dhikr, or remembrance, is a core practice in Sufism, where the seeker continuously repeats sacred words or divine names to keep their heart focused on God. Some forms of dhikr are vocal, like chanting the names of God, while others are silent, where practitioners meditate deeply on divine presence. Through dhikr, the heart becomes purified, distractions fade away, and the seeker moves closer to a state of constant awareness of God. A sheikh is the spiritual teacher who guides disciples, known as murid, along the mystical path. In Sufi traditions, the relationship between seeker and sheikh is of utmost importance. Just as a traveler needs direction on an unknown road, so does the Sufi need guidance toward enlightenment. The sheikh doesn't merely teach doctrine, but helps purify the seeker's soul, offering wisdom, discipline, and spiritual exercises to lead them toward self-transcendence. In Sufi thought, the nafs is the aspect of the self that keeps one trapped in worldly desires. It is often associated with the ego or lower self, which creates a barrier between the soul and the divine reality. The purification of the nafs is a central goal in Sufism, as overcoming lower tendencies and base desires allows one to attain closeness to God. Sufis believe that the nafs must be disciplined or purified through spiritual practices such as meditation, prayer, fasting, and self-reflection. These practices help individuals detach from material distractions and cultivate inner purity. The struggle against the nafs is not about denying oneself completely, but rather about transforming desires into a force that aligns with divine will. The process of refining the nafs requires patience, discipline, and perseverance. It involves recognizing one's weaknesses, seeking guidance from spiritual mentors, and continuously striving for self-improvement. As the nafs becomes purified, the individual experiences greater inner peace, wisdom, and a deeper connection with the divine. Sufism offers not just knowledge, but experience, a journey of the heart toward divine love and truth. It asks you not just to study concepts, but to feel them deeply, to seek beyond words, beyond material attachments, and to discover the mystical essence hidden within life itself. It involves the process of spiritual cleansing, removing negative traits like arrogance, greed, envy, and loss. Through self-discipline, prayer, and reflection, Sufis purify their hearts, making it a vessel for divine light. If you have ever felt the longing for something deeper, if the divine has ever whispered to you in moments of silence, urging you to look beyond the surface, comment below and share your experience. What spiritual practices or insights help you find inner peace?